Everybody, welcome back to our True Image YouTube channel. I am here with the amazing and super fun Andrea West. We have just been chatting it up on our little break and just so thankful for her. And so today we're going to be talking about 3 things that I believe are very important in finding your assignment, a clue to what that might look like. You probably already know some things that you might enjoy doing and that you're really passionate about, but one of the things that the Lord really spoke to me is finding your place, finding your purpose, and finding your voice. And I think it's really important that when you are seeking the Lord in any way, God will direct you. Mm-hmm. For me, I have lived in the same city for my entire life, and there has been many opportunities where people have been like, you are weird, why are you not moving? You're in Shreveport. And I've even had some guys I dated in past tell me, well, God can't use you in Shreveport, like you need to move. Yeah, exactly. You need to move to a bigger city. And those doubts would plague me. I'm like, I'm in Shreveport. But something just rose up in me and I'm thinking, you know what? If I was in a hut and somewhere in Africa and that's where God placed me, then that's where God placed me. And so I think it's important that you understand, I love traveling. I could live out of a suitcase, but I do love being home at the same time. And so I think for me, I know that I am called to Shreveport. And so sometimes you might be called somewhere for a season. And I've seen that with other people. I'm like, well, dang, I love to backpack through Europe and go here and go there. Let's just go. But I think you've got to understand that God's called you to a place. And I believe where that place is, like I said, it might be there for a season. It might be at a job. It might be at a church. It might be to help a certain family. But as far as your place, you just got to know that God has a place for you and He will direct you. So I'm going to let Andrea just kind of share a little bit about her journey, because she was here, moved, and now she's back again. So,
All right. Well, when I want to kind of, when I started off, I remember whenever I was really young in the Lord, kind of not knowing where to serve. Yeah. And I remember reading something, and I just want to kind of say that to help somebody maybe. But it said if money wasn't anything, like you had all the money you ever needed, what would you want to do? Who are the people you want to be around? Who would you help? And that really helped me kind of plug in where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
So when I got here, I started out just serving in, 2s and 3s. I love kids, and did that in outreach for a real long time. Or I say long time, a couple years, long time back then. And then I married my husband, and Trey, and he helped with the youth ministry. And so I kind of, honestly, just out of straight obedience to what I felt like God was telling me, I didn't honestly at that time have a heart for youth. I thought, I really like kids. I don't want to be around teenagers. But I said, but you know what? My husband's there. I'm going to do it. I'm just going to, I want us to be together. We knew we were supposed to be together doing that. So I said, okay, I'll do that. And then I started I started doing True Image. You asked me to do the middle school True Image. And
she rocked it, by the way.
It was awesome. It was like, there was just a grace, it really wasn't me. I look back on that time and I'm like, God, there was a grace for that, you know? And so did the middle school True Image every Wednesday night. It was such a blessing. And at that point I knew my heart was for girls, girls and women, And so did that, and then me and my husband were moving, we knew God wanted us to move to Joaquin, and
Texas.
Joaquin, Texas, yes. It's a huge city. And honestly, at that point, True Image was going so phenomenal. I was happy for my husband because he was getting to finally youth pastor. He was so excited, but my heart was a little broken because I thought, I am right, Lord. I love this, but it was like, all right, God. What are you gonna do? I'll see you later, Trey. And so I went there and helped him with that. I taught school, and I did some girls groups. Actually, we did this, and it was awesome. It was like finally. So we did that, and we met, on Sunday evenings, off and on, things like that. And then we moved back. We were praying. Trey and I both were just kind of praying. We're in a different season. We weren't in full-time ministry. And so it's kind of like, where are we going to get plugged in? We knew we needed to serve. Yeah. And where are we going to get plugged in? And we knew it wasn't going to be with the youth. We just kind of knew that. I didn't feel like it was going to be with kids. And it was just kind of like, okay. Well, around that time is when Pastor Jeffrey here asked me to speak to the girls at youth camp. And I remember doing that and just being like, ooh, I still really enjoy this. You know, I like this. I feel like this is supposed to be. And you talked about Ditch the Baggage there. And so that's what I'm doing now. I went through Ditch the Baggage. Supposed to help me lead it, but Lord have mercy, there was a lot of baggage to be ditched, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then I remember you just asked me, hey, would you want to lead this up? And I prayed about it, and I was really nervous, but I just felt like, let's do this.
Yeah. And were you even finished with Ditch the Baggage when I approached you about leading it?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I just really felt in my heart, you know, with Andrea, I was like, listen, you know, I trust you. You've been around ministry. You've done, I mean, she's done it. She's done little kids, she's done youth girls, she's done young adults, and now women. And it's just been really neat to see that, because she's growing, and to see those gifts in her, because she's an amazing communicator. Obviously, you're watching, you've already seen that. But even when she spoke at youth camp last year, like, I saw something stirring in her. So I just think it's awesome that with your places, God will place you in seasons. And one of the things I can say about Andrea too is she is faithful and she is loyal. Whatever she is in wholeheartedly. So wherever you are placed right now, I encourage you to serve with your whole heart, serve with the right heart. Because it's not to say, okay, well, being in kids is beneath her, or being in youth was beneath her. It's that served for that time. And I've seen this in other areas of ministry as well. Sometimes, God, you've been at a place for so long, and it is time for a change, but you're afraid to change. But she has no idea when she left, then it calls 3 or 4 other people to step
That's
up.
right.
And I think it's important too. So just knowing that when you're called to a place that you just got to know that it's at the right place and the right church. I mean, we are not the only church in our area. Obviously, I'm biased because I go here, but we are not the only church in our area that helps people. There are a lot of amazing churches, and so don't be the person that just church hops wherever you are. Be led by the Spirit. No church is perfect. Any church you're going to, you're going to get offended. Just know that that's going to come. But I think a lot of people would be a lot more stable if they would just be planted in the church and in the place. And that's a whole other thing. But having a spiritual covering, you know, you don't realize that you being a part and connected to a local church, just the spiritual covering that takes place. So anyway, so you do have a place, and you need to be faithful. Like I said, not just in your attendance, but be faithful with the right heart, and don't look at it as a stepping stone. You know, I was thinking, for me, I youth pastored for 10 years. When Dad told us, hey, I want y'all to step out and do something else, oh my gosh, it was a whole other world for me. Like, what, you want me to do what? This is all I've known. This is uncomfortable. You know, even though my place, as far as I didn't literally move or change, but my life changed because doing something for so long, and now I'm doing something different. So anyway, your places will change in life. Maybe it's not geographic changes, but you will be moving, and so you just need to be prepared to go with that. Galatians 5:7 says, you are running the race nobly. Who's interfered you and stopped you from entering into the truth? It's important. You got to pay attention to, like I said, who you're surrounding yourself with, and don't be moved. Well, my friends go to this church, but I really believe God's called me to go to this other church. And you go with your friends. You've got to go where you feel like God's, where God's placed you. So the other thing, as far as finding your place, is I think once you find your place, and Andrea touched on this a little bit, but you find your purpose. When you're in the right place, your purpose becomes more clear. Your passion shows what your purpose is, and she touched on that about if you had all the money in the world, money wasn't an option, what would you enjoy doing? And so God has a purpose for your existence, and it is up for you to discover. Jeremiah 1:5, before I formed you, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart for my holy purpose. You have a holy purpose for your life. It is so much more than just getting up and going to work and coming home. There is a purpose for you, a destiny for you. So, Andrea, why don't you talk about, how you've kind of found your purpose?
A lot of it, I think, is just getting started where you are.
Yeah.
I think that is really one of the hardest things, is get started. And, like you said, your purpose comes with that place. The reason I think it comes to that place is because there's people in that place to help you with your purpose. I want to thank you. You're the one who said, hey, would you do this? And I thought, I can't. And my first thought was, I can't do this. I'm not,
Her eyes were this big when I talked to her about just the baggage. I'm like, you're the one that, because I told her, I was like, I already know you're supposed to, so you don't have to let me know now, but Jesus will speak to you at some point. Yeah.
And, and that was, I felt completely unqualified, but the reason you find your purpose because you're in the place with the right people. And so
Yeah.
they confirm those things in your
Yes.
life, like, come on, let's do this. And, of course, had I had just like a no in me, I would have said, no, I'm not doing it. But find your purpose is just stepping out. Just, listen to the voice of God. And I say, or in your heart, listen to it. And just get started somewhere. Just get plugged in. God,
Yeah.
I mean, God's not going to look at you and say, oh, you messed up. You worked in the nursery. I don't think so.
Yeah.
He's going to, he's going to find, he has a purpose for you. And he's put you in that place.
And I
to
think you
serve.
working in nursery too, and now being a mom, you saw the importance of having, people back there that can take care of the children while you're off,
Yes,
doing
absolutely.
things. So I think, I think it's good for you wherever you are to kind of get an understanding of the different ministries, because it takes a village, it takes a family to get things to run and do things. And I knew, God spoke to me about Andrea, so, I just knew that she would do leading the Ditch the Baggage group, but the other women that are leaders with her, they've all been like, she's the one to do this. Our lady who's over our life groups was like, she's the one. I'm like, yes, I know. So I just think it's important that, and there is, I think, in her heart of hearts, she wanted it, but it was that, and I
fear.
think that's how, and I think that's how it is sometimes with the Lord, is you're in your heart, it's stirring, because
Yeah.
oh my God, this would be, because it just makes your heart just explode. But then it is overcoming that fear of, and I love that you said that, of
Don't
this,
let-
and feeling
questions.
unqualified.
Absolutely, yeah.
Feeling unqualified,
yeah.
I think, is a huge thing. And one of the things that the Lord spoke to me years ago, because I was like, I do not know anything about anything. I'm doing youth pastor, blah, blah, blah. Just looking at my life going, Lord, who the heck am I? And I remember he told me, I do not call the qualified, but I qualify those that I call. And that to me just hit me, oh my gosh, thank you. And every time insecurity would come up, that the Holy Spirit's voice would just come up to me and say, remember, I've qualified you, I've ordained you, I've this, I've that. And I think it's good, because I didn't go to high school, I homeschooled, I didn't go to college, I went to our church Bible school, but I struggled with that so much, especially when I would be around really smart people, they have a degree, and I'm like, GED, woohoo. I don't want to say anything, and just really battling that fear of, oh my gosh, Lord, how am I going to do this? So I think it's important that before you start walking in these things, as God's already approved of you, He's already called you, and He's qualifying you as you go along. Right. So, and the other thing, obviously, in finding your purpose is you find your voice, and this goes along to with being passionate. You find your voice when you have something to talk about. Your passion will give you a voice. I joke with my husband. It's not funny, but I talk girl stuff all the time. Now, he grew up in the church, but I grew up in the ministry, in a pastor's home, and so we obviously grew up with different perspectives on things, which has been really good. But all I talk about is girl stuff or ministry stuff, because I don't know how to cut this thing off, because my mind's constantly going and constantly, and you could literally be around me for 5 minutes and you'll know, I know exactly what Lindsey's passionate about. And so I ask you, what's the topic of your conversation? What's the topic of when you're talking about things or even people, are you talking bad about them, or are you like, man, I wish I could help them? Man, I wish I have a heart for single moms, or I have a heart for teenagers, or I have such a heart to help organize the children's ministry, or I love babies. I just want to love on babies. And there's so many things. So think about that, because that's a major clue in neon lights, like, hello, this is probably something that you're called to do. And the other thing too, I believe, is when you find your voice, it empowers you, because now with Ditch the Baggage, which was a life group that we do at our church, I do not have to, I have this random hair that's sticking out somewhere, but I do not have to worry about a thing, because I trust this woman of God completely. She just lets me know what's going on, and that is huge, because I trust her, and I'm giving her a voice to say, Andrea, your voice is echoing my heart, your voice is echoing God's heart, so I trust you to do and run this. So why don't you talk about your whole finding your place?
And when we're talking about finding your voice, or what you're passionate about, that's what you talk about. A lot of times, we look, and I've been guilty of this, I'm not on stage. I'm not a preacher. I'm a helper. I work a 9-to-5 job. use your voice.
Yep.
Your voice is right there. That was one of the things. Honestly, I love working in this in the secular job. That is one of my favorite things, is talking to people. If our passion, what it boils down to, period, is people.
Is people. Yep.
It's people for His kingdom.
Yep.
People. And so wherever you are, you already know your passion. Those people you're around at work, pray for them, talk to them, love on them. Those people you're at school with, pray to them, talk to them. God has put you there. That's number one purpose right there.
Yep.
He put you there. That's your purpose. You
Yep.
know, and of course we serve in the church, absolutely. But that's He put you there because there's a need there.
Yep.
And your purpose is where the need is. And so
And I think when you're faithful with that, and God sees that, and He sees, you know what, if I can trust her and I can put her in this place where these other people, these other women, let's just say, do not know Jesus, they don't know the Lord, they're not in church, but if I've placed you there, it's not for you. It's for you to bring them into the kingdom. And so I think that when you find that and you begin to find, you know, that purpose and that your passion, your voice, you know, the place that God has you, and you just begin to cultivate those things. And Andrea said she's not a platform person or a preacher. She's a teacher. She will teach the Word of God, and she's been faithful in that. She breaks down the Word of God where it's easy to understand, which we all need that sometimes. You're like, what does that mean?
because I need it.
Yeah, it's like,
He breaks it down for
explain
me,
this to
and
me. So I just encourage you, you know, find these things in your life, you know, find your purpose, find your place, and find your voice. And I think when you do that, you're going, oh, I found that hair finally. I was like, where is that hair? I think when you do that, you're going to begin to be fulfilled. And I think it's when you're not fulfilled because you're not walking in your purpose. You're not using your voice. You're not in there. Maybe you're in the wrong place. You know, maybe you're in the wrong relationship, and those things, being in the wrong place, being doing with the wrong people, and yet I even believe sometimes using your voice, but using it in the wrong way. You know, some of you are so vocal and being tearing down people. Why don't you allow the Lord to use your voice, you know, to channel it, you know, towards bringing life to others?
And, I remember something, I think it was Pastor Rusty Martin said when he was at our church in Joaquin. He said, and I hope I get this right, he said, there's your words that not many people are listening to, and there's your actions that everyone is looking at. And it was like, there's your voice. You know, it was like, I mean, that to me, I was like, yowzers, you know, I mean, like, because we can preach all day long, but if we're not living it, it's obsolete. It doesn't matter. And not like God can't work, but I want Him working through, you know, I want to be legit for Him to work through, not just a bunch of lip service. You know?
I think that, and I love that you said that, and I think it's important with all of us is that our heart is, Lord, I want to be your mouthpiece. I want you to use my hands to pray for people. I want my feet to lead me in the gospel of peace. I want to walk in peace everywhere I go, and that's a whole about the armor of God. But we just encourage you, start praying and just seek the Lord. But God, what is it? Because I think you probably have a lot more. You probably know a lot more than you think you do. Absolutely. So anyway, we'll be back next week, and we're going to talk about 4 other things as far as our passion. Well, that too. As far as our assignment goes. And so we hope you've enjoyed it. We hope you have a great week, and we'll see you back next time.